Exposure refers to the amount of light allowed to fall on the image sensor in the camera during image capture. Light is the main ingredient in photography and should be used properly. Light passes through the lens, aperture, and shutter to strike the image sensor. The aperture is an opening in the lens whose size can be adjusted to allow more or less light to pass through the lens. Wide aperture lets in more light. Use it when you are in a dark room, cloudy or night sky, or a dimmer scene for proper exposure. The narrow aperture lets in less light. These are used with bright scenes. The size of the aperture is expressed in f numbers such as f over 2.0, f over 2.8, f over 4, f over 5.6, f over 8, f over 11, f over 16, f over 22, f over 32, and so on. Smaller numbers like f over 2.0, f over 2.8, and f over 4 mean a larger opening, therefore wider aperture as compared to f over 16, f over 22, and f over 32. The shutter is a part of the camera that allows light to pass for a specific amount of time. The shutter speed measures that amount of time the shutter on the body is open to allow light to hit the image sensor. It is expressed as fractions of a second, such as 1 equals 1 second, 2 equals 1/2 of a second, 15 equals 1/15th of a second, 250 equals 1 over 250 second. Increased shutter speed decreases exposure. It is usual if the scene is very bright, but it's not so good if the light is dim, because there isn't enough time for the exposure. Decreased shutter speed increases exposure, which is good for low light but washes out a photo in bright light. Outside on a sunny day, a faster shutter speed may be necessary to avoid overexposure. As the sun sets, you may want to use a slower shutter speed for the same level of exposure. Another consideration in setting shutter speed is whether anything in the scene is moving. When you are using slower shutter speeds and a stationary camera, objects in motion will blur. Higher shutter speeds freeze the action. The ISO, International Standards Organization, or ASA, American Standards Association in Photography, indicates the sensitivity of the image sensor to light. It is measured in numbers such as 100, 200, 400, 800, and more. The lower the number, the less sensitive the camera is to the light, and the finer the grain. Higher ISO settings are used in darker scenes to get faster shutter speed. Another control is exposure compensation. This allows you to adjust the exposure using its light meter to let more light in, positive exposure compensation, or less light in, negative exposure compensation for a specific situation. The range of adjustment goes from +2 to -2 EV in 1/3 steps.